I paid for my husband's work trip to Las Vegas, and he texted me, "I just married my coworker." "You're pathetic." I replied, "Great." The next morning, the police were at my door. The phone vibrated at 11:15 p.m. I was on the living room sofa reviewing documents for a project due on Monday. Carlos, my husband of 6 years, was supposed to be at a marketing conference in Las Vegas. He had sent me photos of the Bellagio Hotel 2 days before, smiling with his colleagues in front of the fountain. "I miss you," the message with the picture said. I had believed him. The message arrived without warning, without context, without preparation. I read the words once, then twice, then 3 times. My brain refused to process their meaning. "I just married my coworker. You're pathetic, by the way." The letters glowed on the screen as if they were burning. My hands started to tremble. I called immediately. Voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. I dialed 5 times in a row. Nothing. Then something changed inside me. It wasn't sadness or desperation. It was a cold, metallic clarity. I got up from the sofa, went to my computer, and opened the banking app. We'd had joint accounts since we got married. I earned triple what he did as a software engineer, but we had always shared everything. Trust, I repeated to myself. That's what a solid couple does. With 3 clicks, I blocked his access to all our credit cards. With 4 more, I transferred the money from the joint accounts to an individual account I opened that instant. $82,000. Years of savings, money I had earned with 12-hour days in front of the screen. Then I called the emergency locksmith I had used when I lost my keys the year before. "I need to change all the locks in my house," I told him. Tonight." Tonight, he was surprised. "Yes, I'll pay you triple." He arrived at 1 a.m. While he worked, I systematically packed all of Carlos's belongings into cardboard boxes from the garage. Clothes, shoes, watches, books, everything. I didn't feel anger, I felt robotic efficiency. Each object in the box was another step away from humiliation. At 4 a.m., the locksmith finished. 14 new locks. Front door, back door, garage, security windows. "Husband problems?" he asked, putting away his tools. "I don't have a husband anymore," I replied. I wrote a simple message. "Great." And I sent it. Then I blocked his number, his social media, his family, his friends. In 15 minutes, Carlos had disappeared from my digital life as if he had never existed. I poured myself a whiskey, just one. I drank it slowly, looking at the boxes by the door. I'd put them out on the street tomorrow. Let him pick them up when he gets back, I thought. If he gets back. At 8:30 a.m. the doorbell rang. I had slept for 2 hours. I opened it, expecting a delivery driver. Instead, 2 police officers. Lucia Ruiz, the taller one, asked. "Yes. We need to ask you some questions about your husband, Carlos Mendez." My stomach clenched. "What happened? Can we come in?" They came in. They looked at the boxes with neutral expressions. "Your husband filed a complaint," the young one said, consulting a notebook. "He alleges you cut off his access to funds and changed the locks without notice." A bitter laugh rose in me, but I swallowed it. "Did he tell you why I did that?" "That's not relevant to the complaint, Ms. Ruiz." I took my phone and showed them the message. "I just married my coworker. You're pathetic, by the way." The older one read it. His expression didn't change, but his eyes hardened. "I understand," he said. "But technically, if he's registered as a resident. The house is in my name, only mine. I bought it 2 years before I met him. I have all the documents. Even so, after 6 years of marriage, he has rights." Rights? My voice rose. He married another woman in Las Vegas while I was paying for his work trip. And he has rights? The young officer closed his notebook. "Look, we understand the situation, but we need everything to be handled legally. Do you have a lawyer?" "I'll call one right now." They left after warning me I couldn't get rid of his belongings without a legal process, that any hasty action could be used against me. To stay calm. As I closed the door, my phone started vibrating. Unknown numbers, texts from blocked contacts finding their way through. Carlos's mother, his sister, his best friend, all with the same script. "You're a monster. How could you do this to him? He made a mistake, but you left him on the street with nothing. A mistake. Marrying another woman was a mistake like forgetting to buy milk, like being late, like staining a shirt. Right. I called Rodrigo, my best friend from college. He's a corporate lawyer, but he knows people in family law. I need the best divorce lawyer. Now, what happened? I summed it up in 3 minutes. Sister, he whistled. I'll connect you with Valentina Torres, a lioness. Valentina scheduled me for 2 p.m. 45 years old, impeccable black suit, gray hair in a perfect bun. She listened without interrupting as I showed her messages, bank records, everything. Do you have proof of the Las Vegas marriage? Just the message. I need more. Certificates, photos, witnesses. Give me 2 days. Can I keep the locks changed? For now, yes, but keep his things intact. Not one can disappear or they'll crucify you. That night, Carlos tried to get in. I was in the kitchen when I heard the key turn uselessly. Then banging, then yelling. Lucia, open this door. I stood motionless. Part of me wanted to open it and ask him how he got here. How 6 years evaporate in a midnight message from a casino. I know you're in there. This is illegal. I'll call the police again. He banged for 5 minutes. Silence. Footsteps. An engine. Squealing tires. My phone vibrated. Another unknown number. I ignored it. Another. 5 voicemails. I didn't listen to any. I blocked everything. At midnight, the doorbell. I didn't open it. Persistent, desperate. It stopped. I looked through the window, a car in front of my house, Carlos at the wheel, illuminated by the light of his phone, waiting. I stayed awake all night. At 6 a.m. he was still there. At 7 a.m. he left. 2 days later, Valentina called. I have everything. Marriage certificate between Carlos Mendez and Javiera Soto. Issued in Las Vegas on April 22nd with witnesses. Screenshots of her Instagram with photos of the ceremony before she deleted them. A friend passed them to me. She's hated her since high school. And now what? Now we file for divorce on grounds of bigamy. This is Nevada. What he did is illegal. He didn't just ruin your marriage. It's a crime. Something dark and satisfying twisted in my stomach. How long will it take? With this evidence, fast. 3 months max. That afternoon, the papers were served. Carlos received them at his office. His boss witnessed the scene. According to an acquaintance of Rodrigo's, he cried in the bathroom for an hour. My phone exploded with messages. His mother, his sister, his father, who never cared about me. All indignant, all accusing me. No one mentioned the detail that their son married someone else while still married to me. I ignored everything. I threw myself into work, the gym, anything to keep my mind busy. The nights were the worst, the empty house echoing. The memories on a loop. Sometimes I'd wake up at 3 a.m. convinced I heard his footsteps, his laugh, his voice from the bedroom, and then I'd remember and reality would hit me again. Carlos wasn't there, he wouldn't be back, and I was alone in a house that now felt like a tomb. One night I gave in, unblocked his number, wrote, "Why?" I deleted it. Was it worth it? I deleted it. I hope you're happy. I deleted that too. I blocked him again. This time for good. The answers would come in court. And when it was all over, Carlos would understand what it feels like to be left alone with the consequences of his actions. Without money, without a house, without a wife, without anything except the memory of what he destroyed for a whim in Las Vegas. But something told me this was just the beginning and that there were more surprises to come. The morning of May 15th dawned gray. Dense clouds covered the sky as if the weather agreed with the tension. I put on my best suit, the navy blue one Carlos gave me on our anniversary 2 years ago. The child in me the morning of May 15th dawned gray, and the navy blue suit felt like armor. I made a firm bun, discreet lipstick, a hint of jasmine perfume, and left with the folder Valentina had prepared for me as if it were a handbag, the house title in my name, bank statements, a screenshot of the "I got married in Las Vegas" text, and the county certificate with the seal that cuts the air. In the courthouse, Carlos arrived with the same tie from our 5th anniversary and swollen eyes. Javiera stayed at the door feigning a call, her new bracelet shining as if it could buy her a reputation. The judge called for order. Valentina spoke without embellishments. Bigamy evidence, exclusion from the home, precautionary measures on accounts and vehicles. His lawyer tried the emotional crisis trick, but the Nevada certificate landed on the table like a piano. The judge granted me exclusive occupancy of the house, a restraining order, and a preventive freeze on the funds he had moved to a newly opened account. Valentina smiled without showing her teeth. I pressed my thumb on the edge of the table to keep from clapping. On the way out, his company's HR called me through my lawyer. Corporate ethics had opened an investigation for misuse of travel expenses. The conference trip included 2 premium tickets to a show, a suite with an upgrade, and duplicate charges for champagne. The internal audit doesn't ask about love. It follows invoices. Carlos looked at me in the hallway as if I had blown out Las Vegas with a single breath. I didn't do it, I just turned on the light. That afternoon, more pieces arrived. Valentina sent a forensic accountant to review the movements of the last 6 months. We discovered a newly created LLC in Javiera and Carlos's names, with a pretentious name and a nearly empty account, except for 3 deposits that came from our joint account for investments. It was my extra Saturdays in front of the screen turned into lukewarm champagne. The accountant prepared a report with red arrows and cold words that brought my pulse back. Restitution for misappropriation and return of funds with interest. A judge would sign it, his future would pay for it. Carlos's mother appeared at my door at dusk. She didn't bring insults, she brought an envelope with statements from her pension. He had put her as a guarantor for a quick loan while he was playing New Life. I offered her water. I sat her at the granite island she had criticized so much and explained slowly what signing without reading meant. She cried in silence, and for the first time, she apologized for her messages. I gave her the number of my advisor at the bank and a short, clean hug, with no promises. I wasn't going to save Carlos, I was going to save his mother from her own son. Valentina summoned me 2 days later to a downtown hotel for a necessary move. There was a gala for Carlos's company. Long dress, moderate flashes, wine in very fine glasses. I went in a black column dress and a satin jacket that fit well. The kind of elegance that doesn't make noise but fills the hallways. On the carpeted staircase, Javiera posed for stories as if a light protected her from the facts. The court process server went up with white gloves and a plain folder. Valentina signaled him with her eyes. 2 meters from the cheese table, Javiera was served in hand with the summons for civil co-conspiracy. Restitution, damages, fees. No one screamed. There was a murmur of clinking glasses. It was the first photo of that night that was worth it. Back at home, I poured myself a whiskey with a large ice cube and leaned against the counter. The house was no longer a tomb, it was a strategy studio. I let down my bun. My hair fell like a stage curtain. I could be strong without sounding metallic. I could be broken and still sew the edge with gold thread. The forensic report arrived at dawn. They had stopped a dirty move, an attempt to get a helic against my house with a forged signature scanned from an old document. Valentina filed an emergency motion. At dawn, the bank responded with apologies and a total block. In the subject of the email were 3 words that tasted like real champagne. Title secured, confirmed. I breathed with my whole chest as if a rubber band had finally released me. By the 3rd weekend, his company published a sober statement, temporary separation of duties, ongoing investigation for improper conduct, review of expenses. The friends who had called me a monster started texting me, "We didn't know." "I'm sorry. Let's talk when you want." I didn't answer. Not out of resentment, out of hygiene. I showed the house one last time to an interior designer. I wanted to sell or rent at a high price and move to a small penthouse with a view and expensive silence. The agent said the kitchen looked like a magazine cover and the garden could be left with warm lights. I imagined another table, another tablecloth, another kind of toast. Not of forgetting, of beginning. One night, the doorbell. Not the police, not family. Him, haggard, wrinkled suit, tie like a loose rope. "I was wrong," he said. "It was a mistake. I swear it was panic. Las Vegas. I don't know what I was thinking. I looked at him like you look at a piece of furniture that doesn't fit the floor plan. It wasn't panic, it was intent. You went looking for an altar and you found one. Don't come selling me that you tripped over a priest. We can fix it. We are already fixing it. I pointed to the folder with numbers. I don't want money, I want you. I had to want myself, I replied. And I discovered it's very expensive, but I can afford it. I saw him to the door that his key no longer opened. There were no shouts, just that perfect click of a new lock. Confirmations started arriving like pearls. Return of the $82,000 with interest. His voluntary resignation before being fired. The LLC dissolved. The restitution of the watch he had misplaced. I didn't even like it, but it feels good to see what was taken come back. In the banking app, my account stopped looking like a history and started looking like a project. The last Sunday before the final hearing, I showered early, combed my damp hair to one side, and put on a silk shirt that falls like comfort. In the living room, the 11 a.m. sun came in perfectly. My living room stopped being the stage of abandonment to become the dressing room for my next version. I made expensive coffee, put on soft jazz, and rested the cup on the balcony railing. I thought of Las Vegas, of the Bellagio, of the fountain dancing for anyone, and I saw myself in that unforgiving mirror. I was no longer waiting for someone to come back. I was tuning my key. The following week felt like shedding skin without bleeding. Valentina asked for my patience. I brought papers. The accountant expanded the map of the Ghost LLC and another vein appeared. Charges at a Palm Springs hotel. The same weekend Carlos swore he was at a leadership retreat. HR cross-reference statements and the conference email with that suite with a jacuzzi and 2 breakfasts. I didn't need to speak. The invoices already told the story. My voicemail filled up with I didn't know. I emptied it. Instead of responding, I scheduled viewings of the penthouse that I had fallen in love with from the first ad. 2 bedrooms, floor-to-ceiling glass, an open kitchen with a quartz island that looked like a stage, and a balcony overlooking a city that doesn't ask for permission. The agent turned on the lights and the room turned to gold. It's yours if you want it, Lucia. We have another offer over the asking price, but they prefer your profile. Stable income, clean history. I smiled with that new confidence I learned to wear like jewelry. I want it, I said. I pointed with my finger at the invisible wall where I would hang a large painting. No more engagement photos, just horizons. For the house, I opened 2 parallel paths. I left it with a real estate agency at a corporate rental price for 18 months, and at the same time, I evaluated a sale. The first viewing brought an indecent proposal in a good way. A consulting firm wanted to rent it furnished for a director arriving with his family. Ironclad contract, high deposit, cleaning included. Valentina gave a thumbs up. Liquidity and distance in a single signature. I accepted. It wasn't a goodbye with boxes, it was a transfer with a positive balance. That Friday, my legal team copied me on an email from Carlos's company. Termination of employment for violation of the Code of Conduct and abuse of travel expenses. It wasn't a social media post, it was a more expensive PDF. His health insurance was left in limbo and his stock plan was frozen. Javiera uploaded a story with a vague phrase about bitter women and a Las Vegas neon in the background. Valentina sent a cease and desist letter so fine it seemed written with a scalpel. The next morning, her account went private and her corporate card was dead. Hotels are the first to stop pretending. The bank sent confirmation of restitution. My $82,000 back home with interest. I looked at the figure and thought of all my lost Sundays. I assigned it a tag in the app, Armored Doors Fund. I paid the penthouse deposit, hired a premium moving company, and canceled the copies of keys I had once lent out of trust. The concierge of the new building asked me for the names of my regular visitors. I gave him one. No one without being on the list. Rodrigo, my friend from college, helped me choose a sofa that didn't apologize for taking up space. In the store, he held fabric samples against the light, and I tried textures as if they were suits. The salesperson suggested charcoal velvet. I rested my hand on it and felt the city in my palm. Rodrigo, with his lawyerly humor, said, "Let it be the sofa on which no one tells you I was wrong, only you did the math well. I laughed and accepted the velvet. YouTube safe. And with that self-sustaining voltage. The move was a ballet of boxes with labels in obsessive typography. The logistics guys applauded the inventory spreadsheet. I silently applauded their way of caring for my books. That night, barefoot on the new floor, I opened a bottle of sparkling wine I had saved for when I got promoted and which I now drank for something more expensive. When I returned to my name, the glass reflected the city. The city returned a version of me I recognized without asking for permission. From the bar, I looked at my agenda. Intermediate hearing to set compensatory alimony and reparation for the expenses invested in the double life. Meeting with the CISO of a fintech who, after seeing how I documented everything, wanted me to lead a compliance product for small businesses. Your checklist turned into software. Session with the financial advisor to move part of the money to a portfolio that isn't scared of neon lights. I wasn't filling the void, I was occupying the space. On Monday, a notification left everyone with their mouths agape. The Nevada District Attorney's Office opened a criminal investigation for bigamy against Carlos. It wasn't my joy, it was justice. 2 hours later, his lawyer proposed to close the civil case with a textbook offer, a round sum, and a lukewarm apology letter. Valentina looked at me like one looks at a chess move and waited for my gesture. I opened the sheet. I underlined and read. I returned it with 2 demands. A nominal apology, my full name and Javiera's without euphemisms, and a 5-year fund for scholarships for women in STEM at my alma mater with an external audit. If he wanted to buy peace, let him buy the future. They thought about it for 24 hours. Then they responded, we accept. And my university wrote to me with emojis I had never seen in an academic email. The same day I received the strangest message, Carlos's mother, again at my doorman with an envelope. She didn't bring tears. She brought receipts from the shady credit line he tried to hang on me. I want to testify in your favor, she said with that tremor that's mistaken for shame. I accepted, but on the condition that she call her advisor and save her own numbers. For the first time, she nodded without resistance. Javiera tried to cast a net of friends to tarnish my name in forums, saying I neglected him, that everything was cold. My reputation team archived, reported, and documented. We gave Valentina a dossier without adjectives, and a week later the opposing party signed another paper. Not to talk about me on any platform, under penalty of a fine. Courage lasts little when it costs. I spent the first official night in the penthouse with something minimal and expensive. Burrata, green oil, warm bread, and cold grapes. The elegant spice came in just the right measure. Hair loose to my shoulder. A silk kimono that covers more than it suggests. Low music that doesn't demand attention. Rodrigo stopped by to drop off some contracts and left in 5 minutes because first nights are celebrated alone. I sent him a photo of just the horizon. No one else. My house, my rhythm, my voltage. Midweek, Valentina sent me a draft of the asset distribution that was almost accounting poetry. The car in my name. 0 debt. He assumes his credits. Restitution for the hellic attempt, compensatory alimony in 10 installments with interest if he's late. Waiver of any claim on my house. Ironclad. Waiver on my part of anything touching his future if he complies. The judge would see it in 2 weeks. Meanwhile, I signed the lease for the penthouse for a long term. I was no longer just passing through, I was settled. Carlos tried the last trick in the book, showed up at the exit of my building with a box of photos and a speech. The doorman reminded him of the restraining order. He sent me a text from a new number with a photo of our first Christmas. I can't handle the silence. I left it on read without opening the door, without erasing the memory. I learned not to negotiate with ghosts. The only thing I opened was the balcony. The city, on the other hand, always brings fresh air. That night, with the breeze coming in like someone who is on the list, I received the email from the fintech. Formal offer, stock, launch bonus, and freedom to build my protocol into a product. I saw myself designing screens where other Lucias would press a button and the system would teach them how to close accounts, document evidence, secure the house, wealth not just in numbers, wealth in margin, time, choices, keys. On Monday, I sat in front of the penthouse window to negotiate the fintech's offer. Gabriel the CISO appeared on the video call with an impeccable white shirt and a watch that screamed annual bonus. "We want you to turn your checklist into a product," he said. Red button, close leaks, green button, document evidence. Stock, bonus, and freedom to build a team. Real freedom or freedom with approvals from 6 committees? I smiled at him. Freedom with my personal number. If a committee bothers me, I'll bypass it. He winked. I like numbers and legal shortcuts, I replied. I like the way it sounds when you're in charge, he said softly. I like it more when they pay, I finished. Spicy elegant. We closed with a yes in draft. Send the term sheet. A toast when we sign. A place with a high view. You choose. I looked at the balcony and thought, I already have the view. Valentina texted me. Interim measures hearing tomorrow. Bring that navy blue suit that humiliates without speaking. I laughed to myself. Before closing the laptop, Rodrigo appeared with a bag of coffee. I'm coming for 5 minutes, he said, entering like someone who knows they're welcome. I brought the roast that smells like a raise. It smells like RSUs. I served him in heavy cups. He leaned against the island. He looked me up and down without a friend's discretion. That dress fits you like an ironclad claws. And you, as a lawyer, haven't billed yet. I gave him a gentle punch on the shoulder. I see you fierce. Nervous? 0. I sleep with the windows open now. That's the sexiest thing you've said in months. It's just that I can finally breathe, I replied. And the city inside applauded. The next day, marble hallway, judge's voice, folder as a shield. Carlos arrived in a borrowed suit of sadness. Javiera didn't enter. She stayed on the phone outside the room. Valentina opened with precision. Restitution. Freezing of assets used for the double life, compensatory alimony, and a prohibition on encumbering my client's property, she recited. His lawyer tried let's talk, but the judge cut him off with a hand. Then he asked if I wanted to speak. I said the essential. I'm not looking for revenge. I'm looking for administration. Return what you took. Pay what it costs to fix it, and learn the price of a door. On the way out, Carlos caught up with me on the stairs. Lucia, just look at me. I saw you in Las Vegas. It was enough. I kept walking. I'm not that guy. You were so you that you even married yourself. I let slip without looking back. Gabriel's message came in at that exact second. Term sheet sent. Coffee to celebrate? I promised to talk about firewalls only after the second sip. I replied with a location. A high-up bar, floor-to-ceiling glass, chairs that make any suit look more expensive. That night he arrived with a fine coat and a short smile. Tell me you're going to build a product that makes small-time lawyers tremble. He sat next to me, not across. I'm going to build a button that makes anyone who thinks sharing is synonymous with distracting tremble. I touched the rim of his glass. And I'm going to put your name under approved. If it has your signature, I approve with my eyes closed. He brought his glass closer. A toast to new keys. A toast to passwords only I know. A slight clink of glasses. YouTube safe. Voltage in the gaze. The day continued with accounting twists. Valentina called me from the bank. They tried to move a motorcycle and 2 watches to the LLC's name. Blocked. They also found an open reservation at a Palm Springs resort for a couple's retreat. With what funds? With yours from 2 months ago. They've already signed the return. Pause. There's also a call from his mother. Again. She wants to testify about the credit line. Says she's tired of mothering an adult son. That sounds like my favorite quote of the day. I took a breath. Get it in writing and send her flowers. Proteas that last. In the afternoon, Javiera posted a story with yellow phrases about others' envy. My reputation team sent me the screenshot and a draft of another letter. Shorter, colder, more expensive. The post didn't last longer than a story. Her silence lasted hours. Gabriel forwarded me a private meme. Sometimes the best firewall is a hungry lawyer. I laughed out loud. Yes. The real estate agency called with a happy voice. The consulting firm confirms the corporate rental for 18 months. Triple deposit. Check in on Monday. Your house pays for itself while you break in your penthouse. I pay for my house, I corrected. They just deposit. That phrase deserves to be embroidered, he said, and we hung up. That night, I went out on the balcony with a light kimono, loose hair, and the city on my shoulders. My phone vibrated. Rodrigo, I'm downstairs with the fintech contract. Do I come up or down? Come up for 5 minutes. Bring that sexy notary face. The only time I've been called sexy and a notary in the same sentence, he laughed through the receiver. He came in with the briefcase and put it on the bar. Read the IP clause. Everything stays in your name. He winked at me. That's what gets me going. I sign here. And here. A pen that glides. You know what gives me more of a rush than any climb? This. Because this buys you time. He held my gaze. Time and a view. I took a breath. And the margin to choose who I toast with. Are you implying? I'm implying that the first toast is with myself. I smiled at him. The second, we'll see. That was very cruel and charming, Ruiz. That's how I like to sound. He left with his briefcase and his crooked smile. 5 minutes later, Gabriel sent a short audio message. Tell me a time to celebrate. For real, I'm not talking about work. I'm talking about seeing you laugh without a case file. Thursday, 9. Lumen lookout. Dress code, winnings, I wrote. I'll wear a discreet watch and an appetite, he replied. Valentina closed the night with a message that smelled of gold. Agreement reviewed by the judge. Next hearing, final signature. Donation to your university, with a plaque in your name and scholarship fund underway. Carlos assumes the full quick loan and the return of the watches. The LLC is liquidated and the Helic is dead. I leaned against the window. I thought about the first time I saw the Bellagio and believed in promises with borrowed light. I thought about the locksmith at 1 a.m., the boxes, the police with their notebook, Valentina with her perfect bun, my account with a new tag, the charcoal velvet sofa that doesn't apologize, and that red button I'm going to build for others. My story already tastes like something that doesn't spill. The penthouse doorbell rang just once. It was the concierge with an envelope. Hand delivery, Miss Ruiz. Inside was a bank check and a note from his lawyer. Transfer completed. We've attached a draft of the nominal apology as requested. I read it in silence. My full name. Dates. Las Vegas. Bigamy. Restitution. An apology without excuses. I didn't post anything. I filed it in the folder of paid debts. I went back to the balcony. The city was breathing. I took a sip of sparkling wine and texted Valentina. When it's time to close, I'm closing it with a black dress and shoes that don't make a sound. And with a smile that cashes in, she replied. I laughed. The phone vibrated again. Gabriel. Thursday at 9. If the lights don't shine, we will. Bring an appetite and a topic of conversation that isn't compliance. I said, I have a better one. What do you do when the red button is to start and not to close? I press it, he sent. Spicy elegant. On Thursday at 9, the Lumen lookout looked like a jewel set upon the city. Floor-to-ceiling glass, a black marble bar, lights reflecting in the glasses as if the skyline were breathing inside them. I arrived in a black column dress and heels that make no sound, hair loose with a precise fall. Gabriel was already at the bar, discreet watch, a shirt that fit better than it lets on in video calls. I thought you were going to bring the contract to keep working, he said in a low voice, a sideways smile. I brought an appetite and a yes that doesn't fit in a PDF. I sat next to him, not across. Then the toast is to your signature, he raised his glass. And to the red button, to new keys, to my own passwords, and to accounting that doesn't forgive. A slight clink of crystals, spicy elegant, voltage in the gaze, the right light on the skin. He talked to me about building teams without eternal committees, about budgets that open up when there are metrics, about how he wanted my checklist to be a product with a short name and a demo that closes rooms. I talked to him about screens that teach you to document in 2 taps, about guides that are worth more than a Twitter thread, about a crisis mode that builds you a case file before your hand trembles. He rested his palm on the bar near mine, without invading. I let the silence do its part. The city toned down. My phone vibrated. Valentina, urgent, but beautiful. The university approved the text for the plaque. Do you want to read it now or tomorrow? I asked for a photo. It appeared on my screen, sober, brushed brass background. Lucia Ruiz scholarships. Doors, not chats. For women in STEM who turn fires into systems. Gabriel glanced over. It's perfect, he said. It has your voice. It has my invoice, I smiled, and my sense of humor with an edge. Third glass. Conversation now without a helmet. He lowered his tone. What do you do when they knock on your door again? I check the list, see who it is, and if they deserve to come in, I open it myself. I leaned close enough to smell his cologne. And he whispered with a minimal smile. You get in through the list, not through the drama. I adjusted his collar. YouTube safe. But the air tasted exactly like it was supposed to. On the way out, the lookout was a golden tunnel. In the elevator, he didn't press against me. He got just close enough for his breath to brush my cheek. He talked about the first sprint, about the idea of signing the team in a co-working space with a view and serious coffee. I told him I wanted people who knew how to document before giving an opinion. On the ground floor, he offered me his car. I refused with a smile that says, no need. I have the city on my side. Before I went through the revolving door, he rested his hand on my back for a second. It was enough. The next morning, Valentina summoned me early. Gray carpet, strong coffee, her perfect bun. On the table, the latest version of the agreement. It includes the scholarship fund as a fulfilled obligation. The nominal retraction signed and verified, the compensatory alimony with interest if late, the waiver to your house, and the full return of the watches and the motorcycle, and a new line. If he opens a credit line with your name again, the bank must notify you within 24 hours. Lucia proof. Anything from Palm Springs? Cancelled and restituted. And the company officially fired him. She slid the PDF without a show. Costly, effective, better. At noon, the real estate agency confirmed the corporate check-in. Photos of the house ready, kitchen like a magazine cover, garden with warm garlands, all in a home that pays bills mode. In parallel, the penthouse began to look like my biography. Charcoal velvet sofa, light oak coffee table, lamps that tune the night, a tray with peonies and proteas. I opened the window. The city brought in that noise that doesn't bother. It accompanies. Javiera tried one last spin. A story insinuating that some women don't know how to hold on to a man. My team sent a report. Valentina shot off a 3-line email with recent case law and the expected fine for noncompliance. The post disappeared in minutes. Courage is short-lived when there are costs. That afternoon, a kickoff meeting with Gabriel and 2 leaders. Clean whiteboards, new markers. My diagram in 3 layers. Close leaks. Document. Secure. He leaned in. Put your name on the product. I prefer the name of all the women who are going to press that button without asking for permission. You draw a key, but the design bears my signature. At night, balcony and sparkling wine. Rodrigo came up with the original penthouse contract to frame the last page. I brought you a cheesy gift. Your own signature enlarged. I thought it was fair. I'll hang it in the hallway to remind myself that the most expensive thing I bought this year was margin and peace, I said, putting my hands in my pockets. And a dress that should be patented. That joke without an invoice, king. The phone vibrated with a known number. Carlos's mother. I'm just calling to say I testified. Her voice firm, finally. And that I owe you an apology. Not for him, for me. You don't owe me anything. I'm glad you're protecting yourself. I looked at the city. That does change things. Before sleeping, Valentina. The judge moved up the final signing to this Friday. And the university wants you to come see the plaque site. Wear that dress that intimidates statistics. I sent a heart and an I'll be there. Friday dawned with a clean glass sky. I put on the navy blue suit, hair pulled back tight in a bun, and a minimal shimmer on my eyelids that could withstand a courtroom and a seal. Valentina was waiting for me in the hallway. Black coffee in a paper cup. Perfect bun. Those heels that sound like an approved invoice. The judge skimmed, tasted the seals with his eyes, and spoke without adornment. Measures confirmed. Donation to the university executed. Letter of retraction verified. Compensatory alimony with interest if late. Explicit waiver from him to any right over my house. The LLC liquidated. The Helic dead and buried. Gavel. I didn't clap. I breathed. On the way out in the marble hall, Valentina took my forearm for a second. Don't confuse closure with stillness. Now you manage the new, she said, and you cash in on what you've learned. I smiled at her. We walked to the street. The city air had that expensive new smell. Gabriel texted me, I'm waiting for you on the 23rd floor to see names. I went up. Glass meeting room, clean whiteboard, a view that sharpens phrases. 3 chairs, 2 laptops, 1 key. Product, doors. I want the flow in 3 taps, Gabriel said. Close leaks, document, secure. And we'll prepare a demo that doesn't explain, it shows. And without a 20-minute tutorial, I added. If the user has to think, we're already late. I distributed printed drafts with a minimalist art style. Red button, close. Blue button, proofs. Green button, export to judge. Gabriel leaned towards me. He lowered his voice. The pitch is you. That day, that dress, that calm that cuts. The pitch is the checklist that does what it promises. A slight brush of fingers as we passed pages. Spicy elegant. A gaze that understands the voltage. That afternoon, the real estate agency sent me photos of the corporate check-in. The house perfect. Kitchen that looked like a magazine cover, garden with garlands, towels folded like in an expensive hotel. The new director signed with a heavy pen, triple deposit, calendar closed. The email said, your property now works for you. I replied, I work for me. The property cooperates. In the penthouse, the charcoal velvet sofa became a confessional. Rodrigo appeared with a large frame. Your signature enlarged for the hallway, he said. That's cheesy and perfect. I hung it at eye level. I saw you in the room today. You looked like a well-made balance sheet. I felt like a well-made balance sheet. The phone vibrated. University. Come see the plaque site. I entered through the cloister with that late afternoon light that forgives wrinkles. Brushed brass, sober typography. Lucia Ruiz scholarships. Doors not chats. Women in STEM. A silence of a library pushed my breath to the center of my chest. Do you want to say a few words on the inauguration day? The dean asked. Just one sentence, I replied. Jokes are cheap, dignity is expensive. On the way out, the dean stopped me. We're going to ask you to mentor twice a semester. Few people teach order without arrogance. I'm in with an agenda, a budget, and strong coffee. Valentina sent a summary at dusk that smelled of accounting closure. Full refund received. Funds allocated to penthouse deposit, scholarship fund, initial product team, 6-month buffer. Closures signed, Javiera, cease and desist accepted, no future publications. His mother, testimony given, credits saved. I replied with a thank you that tastes like 13 pages. In parallel, local press tried to sniff out a story. Statements. My reputation team responded with 3 lines. Case closed, donation executed, product in development. No adjectives, no interview. The narrative is already on the plaque, not in a thread. That night, Lumen Lookout version 2, an intimate kickoff with the team. Gabriel arrived with 2 new leaders, a PM with nude nails who knows how to say no, and a security engineer with the eyes of someone who will sleep with logs. I ordered sparkling wine. We toasted to short names and useful alerts. May the red button work even with trembling hands, I said. And may the log be so clear that not even the opposing lawyer can argue with it, Gabriel finished. The spice slipped in like a sequel, the right music. He got just close enough to smell my perfume. I adjusted the edge of his sleeve. A low-voiced conversation that could pass any filter. Deadlines, metrics, a joke about committees that dissolve with a good chart. The city behind us was a backdrop. At home, before sleeping, I tied my hair in a low knot and walked barefoot to the bar. The note from his lawyer was waiting in the folder. A nominal apology with my name. Las Vegas. Dates. The word bigamy written without euphemisms. I folded it one more time. You don't frame the damage, you file it. Gabriel sent a short message. Tomorrow, sprint 0. I'll pick you up for coffee at 8. I replied, 8:05. At 8 I closed the window and put on my shoes. On Saturday, I had breakfast looking at the horizon. Warm bread, green oil, cold grapes. My sister, The voice of my own story, not the other case, appeared on a video call with cups and laughter. You're going to speak at the university. One line, no epic, with an invoice. It suits you to speak little and charge a lot, she laughed. Mid-morning, Gabriel rang the bell with 2 coffees and a new notebook. Write the product manifesto. He offered me the pen. 3 lines, I said. Close leaks, document secure. And if in doubt, red button. It seems obvious. That's why it'll stick. We visited a co-working space with a view to set up the team. Brick wall, long tables, good light. The manager talked about packages, licenses, free coffee. I asked about the only thing that matters to me. Useful silence and call rooms where no one has to shout. We signed for a 1-month trial. I stuck a post-it on the whiteboard with the rule. No chats without everyone. In the afternoon, Valentina asked for a 5-minute video call. Last move. He wants to apologize to you in person. Let him make an appointment with his therapist, I replied. That's what I told him, and I reminded him that approaching you means a fine. Anything else? Yes. They offered me a class in the master's program on From Fire to Protocol. I want you as a guest. I'll go with a blazer that intimidates statistics. In the penthouse, the wind lit up the curtain. The sofa became a site for plans. Rodrigo appeared with a small box. It's not a ring, it's worse, he joked. Inside was a tiny brass plaque to screw under the bar. My house, my rules, my accounts. I'll screw it in myself, I said, screwdriver in hand. 3 screws and it's done. That night we met with the team for a naming session. On the table, doors, key, seal, shield. The PM proposed, close. It's so simple it's expensive, said Gabriel. And it sounds like a button, I finished. Before sleeping, the university sent the event program. My name in a sober line. The scholarships in large print. The dean asked me to choose a student for the first announcement. I recommended one who works weekends and builds PCs with used parts. She pays her house's electricity with what she earns, I said. Perfect, the dean replied. On Sunday afternoon, the bank called me. We've implemented an early warning system. Any attempt in your name will first go to you and your lawyer. The manager closed with a phrase I saved. Your rules are now part of our procedure. Turning a wound into a standard. That's also wealth. I made soup, turned on the floor lamp, put on low jazz, looked at the hallway with my signature in large print, and thought about everything I signed without reading when I believed love was free. It's not. Now I know the price, and I can pay it without borrowing. Gabriel sent the sprint calendar. 30 days to have a demo. I replied with the communications map. Legal kit. Templates. Red button working. A short story for the press without proper names. The PM sent a key sticker. The security engineer sent a checkmark. The following Monday dawned with a steel sky and dark roast coffee. I stuck the product manifesto on the co-working wall. Close leaks, document secure, if in doubt, red button. The PM gave a thumbs up. The security engineer opened the repository and left the first commit, feature, red button. It sounded like a starting bell. I want the demo navigable in 20 days, no smoke, I said. With logs that read like invoices, he added. And with a flow that even my grandmother can use, the PM closed. Gabriel arrived with 2 flat whites and a thin folder. I brought the list of 7 pilot clients, 3 fintechs, 2 insurance companies, a university, and a law firm that loves your checklists. He winked at me. And I'm hungry to close. First we close the flow, I replied. Then we close checks. In parallel, Valentina sent me a summary that smelled of brass. The nominal retraction already appears in the file with a verifiable code. The donation to my university has a ledger entry and a photo of the plaque in progress. The bank activated my alerts as a standard procedure. She attached a line that was music. Quick loan, assumed by him. Helic, impossible to reopen without your voice. I replied with a received. I learned to save adjectives when the seals already speak. That noon we had lunch at the penthouse bar. Warm bread, burrata, green oil, cold grapes. Rodrigo left his briefcase on the floor and looked at me with that mix of pride and audit. Your whole life fits into 3 verbs, secure, bill, toast. You forgot dance, I smiled. Dance when the demo loads in less than 2 seconds. He toasted with water. YouTube safe, but with a spark. The university wrote to schedule a visit to the plaque room. I went with a pearl gray blazer and silence-old heels. Brushed brass, sober typography. Lucia Ruiz scholarships. Doors not chats. Women in STEM. The dean introduced me to the first beneficiary. Big eyes, hands with soldering ink. I build PCs on weekends, she said. I paid the house's electricity like that. Then the lab is going to be too small for you, I smiled at her. I want you in our pilot for close when we launch. That afternoon Gabriel sent a message. Work dinner. I gave him the address. He arrived with a rolled-up white shirt and a file without drama. You know what I like about you, he said, carefully brushing my elbow. That you close without promising too much. I replied, that you charge without apologizing. He lowered his voice. That you understand that spicy isn't shouting. I adjusted his color. Glances that ignite. Correct voltage. On Wednesday, a sprint review. The PM projected the flow. Tap on red. Account closure module. A step-by-step guide to extract statements. Export with a timestamp. Evidence organized by type. The engineer showed an audit with human language. I want a visual cue for nervous users, I asked, a thread that doesn't let them go. A calm mode, said Gabriel. I'll put it on the roadmap. Valentina joined the video call for 5 minutes. Impeccable. Civil closure. Signed. Criminal case in Nevada. Continues its course. But we're out. Doesn't require your presence. His mother is protected. And she raised an eyebrow. Your ex requested a meeting to apologize. Let him practice in front of the mirror, I replied. Send it to me by PDF. The real estate agency sent photos of the corporate check-in. Contract sealed, triple deposit credited. My old house shone with warm garlands. Now it was income, not a wound. I replied with one line. Thank you for treating it as an asset is treated, with respect. On Thursday, a meeting with the pilots. One insurance company asked for less noisy alerts. A fintech wanted regional legal templates. A university asked if we would include a legal tutor mode. I nodded. Every red button needs its translation, I said. We'll send you an iteration in 7 days. At night, balcony, city of liquid gold. My phone vibrated with an unknown number. Carlos's mother. I'm not calling about him, I'm calling about me. I signed everything. I canceled what I had to cancel. And I want to thank you for not kicking me when I was down. I was wrong about you. Taking care of yourself is also part of closure, I replied. I'll have my bank advisor get in touch, no cost. You've already saved me more with that than with flowers, she sighed. She hung up with a thank you that sounded like a receipt. Javiera tried another clumsy move. She commented from a secondary account on a forum that I had neglected him. My team tracked her in 2 steps. Valentina shot off 3 lines with a fine for recidivism. The post lasted less than a sigh. Courage always trades at a discount when there are fees. Saturday of testing. The engineer passed me the phone. Press the red. I tapped. The flow took me like a well-painted lane. Close, download, capture, export. Stopwatch, 1:47. I toasted with coffee. Rodrigo clapped with his knuckles on the bar. Dance, he said. I'll dance at the plaque ceremony, I winked. Sunday, an expensive silence. The dean called. We want you to read a sentence at the inauguration. Small. I have one, I replied. Jokes are cheap. Dignity is expensive. The Monday brought the twist no one saw. An envelope with no return address at my concierge. Inside, the pawn ticket for the ring I gave Carlos on our 3rd anniversary. Dated 2 days before Las Vegas. The pawn shop was 5 blocks away. I sent the photo to Valentina. Is it worth moving on this? Not for money, she replied. For the narrative. It's a timeline. Adds to the criminal case. Shows premeditation. I'm filing it. I saved the ticket in the folder of paid debts and breathe that air of someone who no longer trembles for evidence. She uses it. Tuesday. Demo rehearsal with clients. Gabriel introduced me and stepped back. This isn't a tutorial, I said. It's a fire extinguisher. 2 taps. Clean evidence. Export ready. You don't have to believe me. Watch. After 2 minutes, the CFO of a fintech closed his notebook. When can we buy? As soon as you sign the pilot, I replied, and in 3 weeks, the contract. In the afternoon, a short walk with Gabriel, the city sticking to the skin. Have you always been this magnetic? He asked, smiling without forcing it. No, I learned to charge for my magnet, I laughed, and to use it to build, not to negotiate with ghosts. And with me, what are you negotiating? Times, spaces. And that you don't confuse spicy with haste. I adjusted his sleeve. His fingers brushed my wrist. Exact voltage. My sister, from my own family, sent me a voice message with a laugh. When I see you on the plaque, I'm going to shout doors, not chats. Shout it low, I said. So it sounds like a mantra, not a complaint. My old house sent its first monthly deposit without delay. In the app, I tagged it Open Windows Fund. Then I moved part of it to a short-term bond portfolio. The advisor smiled on the phone. This is the sexiest version of the word conservative I've seen in years. I like it when money behaves, I replied. Night fell on the bar, the screwdriver for, I got down and screwed in another minimal plaque I had engraved for myself, my house, my rules, my accounts. I took a photo of it and sent it to Valentina, Rodrigo, and Gabriel. 3 different replies, equally perfect. Valentina, proceed. Rodrigo, billet. Gabriel, cheers. The day of the ceremony at the university dawned with a crystal sky and a wind that orders ideas. I arrived in a pearl gray blazer, cool wool trousers, and silent heels. The hallway smelled of new varnish and serious coffee. The dean greeted me with a brief smile, the kind that doesn't dilute protocol. The plaque was already mounted. Brushed brass. Sober typography that seemed to breathe. Lucia Ruiz Scholarships. Doors not chats. Women in STEM. The first scholarship recipient, the one who builds PCs on weekends, carried a folder with her name in calligraphy. When she hugged me, I felt that the metal under the wall weighed less than her gaze. I took the microphone just for that line we had promised. Jokes are cheap, dignity is expensive. There was a clean silence, the kind of silence that pays. At the end, an old donor approached with a handshake that smelled of legacy and an accounting note. If you build a product with the same edge, I want to see it first. You'll get it before your coffee, I replied. And the dean laughed softly like someone signing an unwritten agreement. Back at the co-working space, the team was with shining eyes in front of the demo. The PM had put in a calm mode, a visual guide that breathed slowly with bars that moved to the rhythm of someone trembling. The security engineer managed to audit captures and attachments with a timestamp that seems notarized. Gabriel leaned against the wall, shirt rolled up, and handed me his cup. You touch it, he said. If it doesn't break with you, it won't break with anyone. I touched the red button. In 2 taps, the system closed cloned accounts, downloaded statements, saved encrypted captures, and put together a package for a judge with an austere cover. Stopwatch, 1:34. The entire room exhaled at once. Let it sound expensive, I said. It sounds like relief, the PM smiled. And relief gets paid for. At lunchtime, Gabriel proposed a short walk to lower the adrenaline. We went down the street where the shop windows display watches that never tell the time you break. He put away his phone and focused on me. You know what disarms me? He asked, lowering his tone. That we don't play at being epic when there's an invoice. Epics burn out. I adjusted his cuff. The invoice endures. And the spice. Just enough to remember the taste, I replied, and he brushed his fingers against mine with a precision that neither asks for permission nor pardon. YouTube safe. Exact voltage. The phone rang with a real estate agency's number. First corporate rental deposit credited. Perfect entry inspection. Comment from the new director, it's the first house where I feel invited not to be a disaster. I replied with a may the garden also learn to breathe. Valentina sent a mid-afternoon attachment that smelled like a clasp. The bank incorporated my credit attempt alert as a standard practice for guardians and title holders with a clean history. She asked for permission to present it in her master's class. From fire to protocol. I sent her the photo of the minimal plaque I screwed under my bar. My house, my rules, my accounts. She replied with goes into the bibliography. Javiera approved her penultimate trick from an anonymous account. Some women don't know how to hold on. My team took 17 minutes to trace the origin, 5 to send Valentina the screenshot, and 3 to receive the briefest response of the month. Fines are not metaphors. The post dissolved like sugar in water. At night, another message that did matter. Carlos's mother confirmed she canceled her guarantee, changed cards, and updated passwords. That, I learned, tasted like hot soup in winter. That night, balcony and city like a necklace. Rodrigo came up with an envelope. Don't be scared. It's cheesy again, he said. It was a print on cotton paper of my favorite commit, feature, red button. We hung it in the hallway opposite my large signature to remember that a straight line of code can also be a lifesaver. He winked. And that a good log seals better than 10 speeches. I fist bumped him. The next day, the CFO of the pilot fintech asked for a meeting without preamble. He connected, showed his screen. His team had tested close, with real cases, measured times, impeccable audit. We're buying an annual license. If you add regional templates, we'll double, he said. You'll have them in 2 weeks, I replied. And a metrics dashboard that speaks human. Done. Send the contract. He cut off. Gabriel looked at me with that sideways smile that only comes out when things close on their own. First real income. No promises. Money that falls, money that has learned to behave. I handed him back his cup. We toasted with coffee as if it were champagne. In the afternoon, the university asked to record 30 seconds for the internal newsletter. I didn't accept an interview, I accepted a fixed shot in front of the plaque. I said what needed to be said, that they shouldn't come telling stories of fire if they didn't bring water and bricks. The dean hugged me, careful not to wrinkle my blazer. In the background, the first scholarship recipient took a photo with her phone that looked like a private postcard. The sprint closed with metrics. The PM read, demo in 1:30, error rate less than 1%. Flow comprehension on the first try in tests with users who had never downloaded a bank statement. The engineer showed a dashboard with alerts that don't shout, they just light up when they should. Gabriel, who knows to be quiet when the numbers speak, let the room chew on the obvious. This sells, he finally said. This protects, I corrected. And it sells. I returned to the penthouse with bags of peonies and proteas. I arranged flowers in heavy crystal. I opened the window. I let the wind do what it knows. On the bar, 2 glasses waited their turn. Someday, maybe that second glass will have an owner. Not today. Today, the second glass was for the version of me that signs without trembling. I got an email from the large law firm that had approached me after the university ceremony. They wanted a close 4 guardians with CPS guides, email templates, and hearing checklists. I said yes, with budgets, not with promises. They asked for a phrase for their website. I gave them the one that doesn't yield. Doors, not chats. The dean sent the final inauguration program at the last minute. She put me next to the scholarship recipient, not by hierarchy, but by sense. I accepted the chair without a logo. When I turned off the dining room light, the invisible brass under my bar gave that wink I now recognize. It doesn't need applause, it's enough to be well screwed. On Saturday, we opened the first focus group with women who had been through divorces, guardianships, and others' fires. We tested the flow. One of them, small hands, huge eyes, said something that left me pinned to my chair. It's the first time a screen has given me back control without asking me to become a lawyer. The PM took notes in slow handwriting. The engineer moved a bar to shave another second off the demo. Gabriel touched my elbow with 2 fingers. Precise, correct. And the city behind us lowered its volume. I closed the week with discipline and minimal luxury. Heavy cotton sheets, a floor lamp, jazz that needs no introduction. My phone vibrated with a final email from Valentina. The judge set a date to sign the full sentence, and the Nevada DA's office added the pawn ticket to the timeline. Premeditation is no longer an adjective, it's evidence. I replied with a proceed. I slept with the window ajar. I dreamed of doors that feel shame if they open without a list, of red buttons that make no sound when they save, of brass plaques that weigh just right. When I woke up, the city was still there, willing to be a background and not an argument. Monday dawned with an email of 3 words that carry weight: contract sent. The pilot fintech signed an annual license and requested an automatic renewal option if close maintains times below 140. The PM sent me a key sticker. The engineer drew a lock on the whiteboard. Gabriel texted me just toast and a cup emoji. I replied with serve. Mid-morning we rehearsed the demo for a law firm. The calm mode flow breathed at the right pace. The red button didn't shout, it guided. I showed how the package for the judge comes out with a timestamp, alphabetical order, and an index that seems written by someone who is already tired. The most serious partner in the room gave an unadorned thank you. That's the applause that counts. Valentina joined by video call. Impeccable as always. Sentence date confirmed. The text includes the executed donation, the nominal retraction, and the impossibility of touching your title by any means. Criminal case in Nevada continues its course without you. Pause. And the prosecution incorporated the pawn ticket. Premeditation is fixed. Proceed, I said. And she smiled like someone who sees a well-written line. The university asked me to stop by the scholarship recipients workshop before the ceremony. The first one, the one with hands stained with soldering ink, was disassembling a cabinet to clean dust. She showed me a diagram on graph paper. I want to make a guide so others can learn to assemble without breaking. I'll publish it in Close as a live tutorial, I promised her, your name below, my templates above. Really? Really. The guides that work don't come from a PowerPoint, they come from a table with screws. Gabriel appeared at the co-working space with 2 coffees and that shirt that rolls up as if it were a proposal. He approached, left the cups, lowered his tone. The CFO of the second fintech asked if you can show Close, with a made-up but realistic case. I have a better one, I lowered my voice to. A true case, already depersonalized. Red button, clean evidence, export that closes on its own. I like it when you turn scars into a product, he said, and his hand brushed my wrist just right. Spicy elegant, exact voltage. In the afternoon, the real estate agency sent the first quarterly report of the corporate rental. Punctual deposits, impeccable garden, 0 incidents. The director left a note, your rules in the kitchen have made me organize even my agenda. I smiled to myself. There's no prettier picture than a house behaving like an asset. At night they tried the penultimate trick, an anonymous email to my university insinuating a conflict of interest because of the plaque. Valentina responded with 4 lines and 3 attachments. Donation registered, scholarship contract audited, 0 relationships with suppliers. She attached the fine for defamation if they persisted. The anonymous email turned to smoke. The dean wrote to me, don't worry, the brass doesn't come off here. The sprint brought a detail that dazzled, a mirror mode with guided breathing and a checklist that ticks itself off only when the user actually executes the step. No empty clicks. We tested with a group of women who had never downloaded a bank statement. One of them, a very quiet voice, said, for the first time, I didn't feel stupid in front of a screen. That's worth more than any NPS. Midweek, a third client. An insurance company asked for 50 seats for its fraud team. The CFO wanted a volume discount. I offered value. Role-based dashboards, silent alerts, and support during court hours. He closed without haggling. Gabriel, after hanging up, rested his palm on the bar near mine. I'm fascinated when you win without raising your tone, he said. I'm fascinated when they pay for not having to hear shouting. I touched his glass, spicy, elegant, that leaves a memory. Carlos's mother called me, different. I went to testify. I already changed cards. I closed everything. I learned to knock before giving an opinion. She laughed at herself. That's the hardest class, I replied. I'm sending you the PDF for Close for family members. 3 pages, 0 drama. Thank you for not making me feel like a bad mother while I was learning, she said. That sentence warmed me more than applause. At night, a demo rehearsal for the public launch. The PM fine-tuned timings. The engineer lowered latency. I cut words until only the ones that carry weight remained. Rodrigo, from the back row, if it lasts more than 2 minutes, you kill the desire. 1:31, I showed the stopwatch. And it leaves you wanting to pay. Valentina closed the day with a message that sounds like a seal. The judge is advancing the hearing. He wants to, verbatim, get this screwed down. What a beautiful verb. I smiled. See you with screws and papers. The next day, a focus group with guardians and a real social worker. We adjusted templates. We added a short guide, speak human to the judge. No technical jargon. The social worker, tired but bright eyes, you're doing what no one else is. Taking the shouting out of the middle. That is the product, I replied. Useful silence. An email came from a fund wanting to chat about investing. Gabriel raised an eyebrow. I asked for terms first and a meeting later. We don't give cheap equity just for a coffee, I said. Or expensive for a drink, he added, looking at me with that sideways smile. The city behind us was a backdrop. That afternoon we walked to the Lumen Lookout to organize metrics with a view. I ordered sparkling wine. He, an old-fashioned. We sat together, not opposite. If tomorrow I ask you to stay after the toast, he left the sentence open. I'll ask for the terms. I rested my fingertip on his glass. Spicy is one thing, the contract is another. I'll sign both, he whispered. YouTube safe, just hot air and the right promise. Back at the penthouse, the concierge handed me an envelope with the court's seal. Inside was the confirmation of the hearing and a beautiful annex. The alert protocol recommended by the judge to preserve homes in domestic disputes. The document cited soberly, doors, not chats. Brass on paper. The morning before the sentence, my sister, from my family, sent me a voice message with a laugh. When the judge bangs the gavel, you'll hear even the lights. I'll hear my new locks, I replied. And my name without nicknames. I rehearsed the sentence I would say if they gave me the floor. Short, no epic, with an invoice. I saved the original title in the good folder. I put in the pen that doesn't fail. I looked in the mirror, navy blue suit, discreet lips, a thin bracelet, spice in the gaze, not in the volume. That night, balcony and city with a clean wind. A message came from Gabriel. Tomorrow, after leaving the courthouse, I'll take you to see the closed sign lit up for the first time. I want you to see it before anyone else. Take me, I wrote, but first, the seal. I slept with the window ajar. I dreamed of the gavel falling like a well-placed screw, of the plaque shining silently, of the red button lighting up without a sound. I woke up in peace, which is the most expensive luxury. The courthouse smelled of sealed paper and old air conditioning. I walked in with a navy blue suit, the original title in the folder, and the calm of someone who has already done their homework. Valentina nodded as soon as she saw me. Her bun looked like a signature. The judge skimmed without haste. He confirmed restitution, the restraining order, the explicit waiver of any claim on my house, the dissolution of the legal toy store they had set up, and in a clear voice, he noted the alert annex. Formal recommendation of the court to preserve homes. The phrase doors, not chats, was written in the record as if it had been born there from the beginning. Gavel. I didn't clap. I breathed as if I were being given back a key. Outside, the marble hallway had that photo op light. Carlos avoided looking at me. His mother approached with short steps. Thank you for not crushing me while I was learning, she said firmly. Thank you for learning, I replied. There was no drama. There was closure. Valentina stopped me for a second before the elevator. They'll call it the Ruiz Protocol in class, she smiled. I've seen doctrines born with less. Let it be born with brass and a spreadsheet, I returned her smile. Gabriel was waiting at the door with 2 coffees and that rolled-up shirt that looks like an invitation. Ready to see a name light up, he whispered. First, a photo of the sentence for my folder that doesn't shout. I showed him the cover. Then I nodded. Let's go. The facade of our office had a newly installed sign. When the technician flipped the switch, close, lit up in clean white on the glass. It wasn't epic, it was expensive. In the room, the PM and the security engineer clapped with their knuckles against the table. Gabriel came close to my ear, spicy, elegant, in the exact measure. There are lights that don't sell smoke, he said. This one sells calm and an invoice. A slight brush of shoulders. The international email arrived while we were opening the first box of markers. The Madrid fintech accepted a pilot with a license option. They asked for local templates, tutor mode, and role-based dashboards. I replied with a calendar, terms, and the phrase that now comes to me by heart. Red is red in any language. The paragraph is pronounced differently. The real estate agency sent its part. Monthly deposit credited, garden in order. A comment from the tenant about the respectability of my rules in the kitchen. My house paying for itself like an adult who learned to work. I gave it a new tag in the app, Open Windows. In the afternoon, a meeting with the large law firm. The secure room they asked for was already in beta. I showed how the unique link expired when the judge stamped the seal, how each download left a trace, and how the index seemed written by someone who arrives tired at the courthouse with their phone in hand. Don't explain it too much, the partner said. Let it do what it promises. That is the brand, I replied. Rodrigo stopped by the penthouse with his affectionate auditor humor and a small box. It's not cheesy. Well, a little. He opened it. A minimal brass plaque for your front door. If you're not on the list, knock and wait. I'll screw it in. I looked for the screwdriver. 3 screws. Done. That night the Lumen Lookout had its usual glow. We went up just to organize metrics with a view. Gabriel sat next to me, not across. The city did us the favor of lowering the noise. And now what does a woman who won without raising her voice do? He asked with that sideways smile. She goes back to her marble bar, puts together the international demo, and opens a bottle only if she signs the third. I touched the rim of his glass. And maybe she dances when the stopwatch hits 1:30. I promise not to step on your toes, he whispered. YouTube safe. Voltage in the gaze. The university confirmed the day and time for the formal inauguration. I was asked that the first scholarship recipient present her guide to assembling PCs as a tutorial within Close. I sent her access and a message. Your name below, my templates above, and no one explains your tool better than you. At the co-working space, the engineer shaved another second off the demo. The PM added a mirror mode with guided breathing. We tested with women who had never downloaded a statement. One said, "It's the first time the screen hasn't shouted at me." That is the product, I noted. Useful silence. Javiera tried another shadow from a new profile. My team tracked it faster than making coffee. Valentina shot off 3 lines and a fine for recidivism. The post disappeared. Carlos's mother, in parallel, sent me a photo of her new password book with an I learned. I sent her the PDF, Close for family members. 3 pages, 0 drama. The fun that requested a meeting came with compliments and empty hands. Gabriel raised an eyebrow. I asked for terms before coffee. We don't give cheap equity for an inspirational talk. We left with our cups and our cap table intact. On Saturday, a workshop with scholarship recipients and an accessibility test. We increased contrast. We added high contrast for mobile. We moved buttons 0.5 centimeter. The stopwatch said 1:31. Rodrigo from behind, that's the rhythm of desire and the invoice. Gabriel closed. That afternoon the CFO of another insurance company wrote without text. He attached a contract with his signature. It was the prettiest response of the month. On the bar, 2 glasses waited without hurry. I filled one. The other I let breathe. Not everything gets filled right away. The expensive knows how to wait. At night, balcony, clean wind. Jazz that accompanies. Valentina sent a reminder for the criminal hearing in Nevada. Me out of the picture. The pawn ticket is now fixed in the timeline. Premeditation has stopped being a pretty word. Now it's a line item. Before sleeping, Gabriel sent a brief message. Tomorrow, photos of the closed sign with the sunrise. If you want, I'll pick you up with coffee. I promise not to talk about committees. I accept the coffee, I replied. We'll put the spice in the metrics. The sunrise found us leaning against the glass. Hot cups. The closed sign made its first photo with a pale sky. There was no speech, there was work. At 8 a.m., an email from the 4th client. A mid-sized insurance company, 50 seats, role-based dashboard. We closed before 9. Mid-morning, Valentina requested 5 minutes. Paula has already testified. Emails, tickets, reservations. The prosecution is smiling. You are out of the picture. Proceed, I said. And I felt the strange peace of seeing the truth walk in shoes. At the university, the scholarship recipient presented her guide as if she had been born in a TV studio. Steady hands, simple language. At the end, she whispered to me, "When I touched your plaque, I stopped asking for permission to learn." "Don't ask for permission to charge," I replied. The real estate agency sent a video of the garden at dusk. Garlands lit, kitchen impeccable. My house is now income and memory. I touched the edge of the crystal and thought, the most expensive thing I bought this year wasn't a penthouse, it was margin. In the afternoon, a secure room live with a test judge. Unique link, seal, expiration. The dry judge, "This saves me a week." "It saves them shouting," I corrected. That he closed, and he asked for the contract. We walked to the Lumen Lookout at closing. The city seemed like a necklace. Gabriel sat next to me. The reflection made us taller. And now? Now the price goes up, the fund is signed, and Madrid is closed. A slight brush of shoulders. And maybe I'll dance when the demo hits 130. "I promise not to step on your toes," he whispered. "YouTube safe. Exact voltage." Before sleeping, Valentina sent the last line of the day. "The judges forum shared your protocol as a best practice. Doors, not chats, is now trading on paper." I turned off the light with that tranquility that can't be bought in any store. The day of the launch seemed choreographed by someone who understands expensive closures. Clean sky, shining glass, the close sign lit up like a tooth of light on the avenue. I put my old pen in my inner pocket, the one of dull gold, and breathed like someone who already knows the value of their calm. The room was full. Pilot clients, the dean, the first scholarship recipient with her soldering ink hands, Rodrigo with his affectionate auditor humor, Valentina with her bun that sounds like an approved invoice. And Gabriel by my side, shirt rolled up, discreet watch, a smile of "this already cashes in." I went up, turned on the demo, and opened with the only promise that never breaks. 2 taps, clean evidence, export ready. The stopwatch ran. The calm mode breathed with the room. At 1:05 an email ping sounded on the giant screen. Alert. Possible leak. The murmur was a knife. "Don't stop the stopwatch," I said without raising my tone. I opened the email. Subject: Vulnerability in close. Anonymous sender. A test link. Valentina looked at me. Gabriel clenched his jaw. I smiled. We had placed a lure weeks ago. I touched the red button. In a side window, our audit dashboard appeared: location, IP, browser, timestamp, and real name. An account created that morning with a third party's ID, a subcontracted employee of the company where Carlos used to work. Premeditation in new shoes. In close, panic also leaves a trail, I said. And the room gave a short laugh. We export evidence. Legal is notified. The link is blocked. The user doesn't lose their pulse. Neither do we. The package for the judge assembled itself. The link expired on screen. The stopwatch hit 1:29. There was an expensive silence, and then that applause that doesn't shout, the one that transfers pay for. The toughest partner of the law firm stood up first. A 3-year license with an annual increase, no discount. That's how you speak human, I replied. The Madrid fintech signed live from an iPad. The insurance company added 50 more seats. The international fund that had been flirting for a month passed me an envelope with their final offer. I read it standing up with the pen in my hand. Clean clauses, no eternal committees. Global network. Explicit respect for my dashboard and my red button. I turned the envelope towards Gabriel. He nodded with his eyes. Nothing more. I signed. Equity that opens doors without touching my keys. Valentina gave me a brief signal from the hallway. I followed her. She had her phone up with a video call on mute, the Nevada DA's office, the pawn ticket, internal company emails, and Paula ratifying everything. Premeditation stopped being a shiny word. It was now a line item. The prosecutor said 2 sentences. Valentina replied with 1. I just nodded. Everything in its place. I returned to the room. The dean asked the first scholarship recipient to present her PC assembly tutorial within close. She spoke simply, showed a photo, explained why a screw goes in straight when your hands aren't shaking. At the end, She hugged me without trembling. I stopped asking for permission to learn and to charge. I winked. The last twist came without a drumroll. Carlos's mother, standing in the back row, waited for the applause to die down to approach with a folder. She spoke without victimhood, without tears, like an accountant who learned to add late. I already testified. I liquidated what I owed. I changed my cards. And she extended an envelope. I wanted to contribute to the scholarship fund. Not for him, for me, for not having knocked before giving an opinion. I didn't make a speech. I received. Valentina took a note. Rodrigo took a deep breath. Gabriel brushed my wrist for a second without invading. Precise. YouTube safe. Exact voltage. At dusk, we went up to the Lumen lookout, only those of us with trades. Valentina, Rodrigo, the dean, the scholarship recipient, the engineer, the PM, Gabriel, and I. The city was still beneath the glass. We toasted to short names, to alerts that don't shout, to plaques that weigh just right, and to contracts that come in without speeches. My phone vibrated with a final email. Criminal sentence underway without me in the picture. Ruiz recommendation cited by a second court. Close accepted in 3 jurisdictions as a suitable means of documentation. I filed the PDF in my folder that doesn't shout. What does a woman who has left everything screwed down do now? Gabriel asked, looking at the lights as if they were metrics. She goes back to her penthouse, takes off her heels, puts together the international sprint, and I adjusted his cuff. Maybe she dances if the stopwatch hits 1:30. I promise not to step on your toes, he whispered. There was no movie kiss. There was time. The most expensive luxury. I had reserved the last scene for myself. Night, penthouse, open peonies, low jazz. I opened the drawer and took out 2 things, the old pen and a minimal brass plaque. I screwed it under the bar at hand height, my house, my rules, my accounts. I turned on the laptop. On the close website, above the red button, I left the manifesto in 3 lines. Close leaks, document, secure. Below it, the signature I no longer need to explain. Doors, not chats. I turned off everything but the city. In the glass, my reflection didn't ask for permission. It held keys. The doorbell rang once. The concierge with flowers from the university. I opened, smiled. Closed gently. There are doors that have already learned shame if they open without a list. This is the end. Without shouting, with papers, without cheap epics, with brass, without hollow promises, with contracts, spicy, elegant in the right gaze. Justice in line items. And my name on a plaque that doesn't boast, it belongs. If anyone asks how you survive a fire, I give them the recipe that is now a product. Water, bricks, a red button, and the rule that saved my life. Doors, not chats.